Thank you for your son, the minister, and every individual in this hall. We return the glory to you. Be thou glorified. For in Jesus' precious name we have prayed.
Let me both thank you and welcome everyone to this session with NUJ Cross River. When Mr. Joseph Osanipin was introduced as the DG of NADDC, NADDC means Nigerian Automotive Design and Development Council, is in charge of the automotive sector of Nigeria's economy, and he has a reason to be here with us. The Malaysian media, they have spoken about an unveiling of what has become Owan-Enoh MSME intervention program. But I think that there are also a number of other things that I'd like to talk about. I mean, it's if it's unveiling alone, like I've spoken with my team, usually, I mean, when I have a brainwave, and in the course of my career, a lot of the brilliant things that I've done have come out of just having a brainwave driven by sincere commitment and responsibility, to society and to the public. But when I do so, I think more about delivering it than organizing an event about it. So that I think that a chance discussion with Akbar Jalingo, who is sitting by me, it made it not possible anymore for me to simply announce this on my Facebook page. And therefore it became imperative to organize some little event. And the closest for me is to have this interaction with the NUJ Cross River, and hope that in the course of this, I can then unveil the entrepreneurship intervention program. But quite ordinarily, I think that coming to the NUJ Press Center, has become habitual for most of us that have had a career in politics, that once in a while, it's important to engage and to interact with you, especially given the fact that I think that, one has been so much, driven by work demands in Abuja, that it's not all the time you find yourself in Calabar and in the state. But just to mention that I came to Calabar yesterday straight from Lagos, after I've done some visitation to some free trade zones in Lagos, the Lador Free Trade Zone and the Eco-Atlantic Free Trade Zone. And it is important to also visit the Calabar Free Trade Zone, which I got in yesterday, and went straight to visit the Calabar Free Trade Zone, and had some engagements in the University of Calabar. Today, immediately after this press, encounter, I'll be leaving with the DG of NADDC to Akampa, to the University of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, where there's going to be a groundbreaking of the automotive training center in that university. While in Lagos, I had the opportunity to inaugurate the automotive training center at the Lagos University of Science and Technology. So I think that is also a good, thing for us, that we're also going to have an automotive training center, for Cross River. And there is also a CNG station, I think, in the University of Calabar, that the NADDC, is also, I think, inaugurating. That is not, although as important and as, as the event that is taking us to Akampa at the university. But just to say that, with me, you've been told the president of the Calabar Chamber of Commerce and Industry is here, especially because of how relevant, the intervention that I'm unveiling today is, to the growth of the, of the chamber, where he leads. The DG of MED has also joined us. All of this, is a testament to how so important it is that Cross River is able to build its private sector, is able to build a cadre of entrepreneurs, is able to get our people to know and to appreciate the fact that, I mean, not everybody is going to be waiting to get employment, by government. The world over, industry and manufacturing remains the greatest employer of labor. And I think that the idea is that the activities of the Calabar Chamber of Commerce, the activities of MEGA, the DG, and every other, and incidentally, I have the mandate for industry at the Federal Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, as Minister of State for Industry. A few times I've come to Calabar with the MD of BOI. All of that is an advancement of the need for government and the need for everyone to be able to key in. At the beginning of the administration of the President Owan-Enoh MSME, they have done some level of intervention, about 200 billion naira, 15 billion was for grants, and then 75 billion was for MSMEs, and also 12 billion was for manufacturing. It's continued to do so in the 2025 budget. There was a 500 billion that was earmarked for the Bank of Industry to continue to assist it maintain the single-digit interest rates. I mean, the challenges remain, but work has to be done. So my hope is that, the little contribution that I hear make about unveiling this entrepreneurship intervention also adds to the efforts of the Governor of Cross River, His Excellency Senator, Prince Basil too, who just some weeks back, I think he also did the same intervention as government for our retirees, and he has continued to do so. He's continued to support the work of MEDA. I mean, it's also my understanding that the government and the Governor of Cross River has also made available the 1 billion counterpart to the BOI, so that, the BOI has a program in which, whichever authority, whether it's government, whether it is private, is able to put, out some sum of money. BOI is able to match that same sum for the benefit of its people. So the 1 billion, provided by the state government to BOI is to enable BOI to also match, match that 1 billion with another 1 billion, for the interest of Cross River people. So I think it's important that, the journalists are able to promote this, are able to, get people informed about what it is. As an individual, I think that I've had encounters and experience of a lot of people who graduate from school, they stay upwards of 5, 10, 15 years, they can't get jobs, they can't get employment, and it's important for us to continue to push and to make the case that not necessarily employment, it mustn't be employment, there has to be some other way. So for me, it's an opportunity to continue to do the work that we've tried to always do. I've always announced very proudly that the reason I'm in public office is to see how I can create and I can add to the happiness of people. I may not be giving all the billions that need to be given, but we're starting somewhere. Our hope is to sustain this effort. I mean, the idea is that if every beneficiary, is going to be able to present some proposal that are going to require up to 500,000, to fund. At that first approximation, I'm going to have about 1,000 crossing areas that are going to be beneficiaries of this program. Even though, as the details may be unveiled later, when I asked and I questioned the team, I said, what about our business people, our artisans, who are not able to access, the various pages where all this is supposed to appear, the websites and all that. And every day they are contributing to the economy of Cross River. Every day they are eking out a living. How do we respond to them? So there's also some provision and some allowance for those category of artisans who are involved in those, little jobs and little businesses. But just to also say that for a country that's about 220 million people, we boast and we say that we have about 40 million plus MSMEs. And that these, have, in their employment is about 80% of the population. They contribute to Nigeria's business development and growth. And that Cross River must be part of this pool. So what we're making available, is outside, what the Bank of Industry and other agencies of government that are within my mandate as Minister of State for Industry, namely the NADDC, SMIDAN, the Bank of Industry, and all those agencies. This is outside what they continue to do and what they are going to keep doing. In the last couple of weeks, I've had some text messages and some calls from cross-riverians calling to thank me that BOI has given them this, has given them that, as part of what BOI should do. What is being unveiled today is a private, personal project. It's my own contribution to the ecosystem. So it's a grant, it's not a loan, but it's also a grant that is going to be very stringent. It's not going to be dash money for purposes of politics. It's going to be money that is intended to grow our economy and to get people to do better. That is why they commit. I'm glad to have the privilege to have Agba Jalingo that is seated here with us, who is part of what we are doing. I've read the people have sent some commentaries to me, in terms of what statements people have made about the involvement of Agba Jalingo. Some people have said that as long as he's involved, it means that this project will happen. What it means is that Agba Jalingo brings in credibility. Even I've also said that I thought that the way I've built my career from 1999 till today, I don't say what I don't do. My commitment to public service is as transparent as that, but it comes in as an addition. I've had previous encounters with Agba Jalingo. When I was in the Senate, for example, I had a program yearly, which I called Senator John Owan-Enoh meets with youths of the Central. In one of the editions in ICOM, Agba Jalingo was at display, was showcased. And he came in with someone who has a lot of ideas on this subject. I'm grateful that we've continued to maintain that relationship. I'm grateful that when I spoke with him about this, because it was about Cross River, and because he also saw the sincerity, he jumped at it. He's had to come all the way from Lagos to be by my side as this program is unveiled. The details of them I will provide all. I think that after this unveiling, the details are going to be everywhere for people to get involved and to apply. We're going to go through quite some kind of training, which is why Smida is here. Beneficiaries of those who are part of this, those that are selected, are going to go undergo a training program. But it's important that everybody has a responsibility in terms of getting our people to see how, to work harder. Hard work, is not limited to any category of people. In the course of my career, I've tried various initiatives and various things to get things to happen. There are moments where immediately after a program, the next day, people who benefit begin to sell the implements and the things that they have benefited from. We can't continue in that attitude. What is being made available is not for people to pay their rent. It's for people to grow their little businesses. So it's important that I keep saying this on and on and on. Therefore, I think that on this day, today's date is
29.
Some people are saying 29, some people 28. So today's date, 29th of August 2025, the year of our Lord. I have the privilege to formally, therefore, unveil the Senator John Owan-Enoh Intervention Program for Entrepreneurs, for MSMEs, for the good of our citizenry, and its own contribution to the good of Cross River State. I thank you.
All right, like the minister has already mentioned, that this is not going to be a loan, it's going to be a grant. 500 million naira is up for grabs. And the beneficiaries are in two categories. We have those in the formal sector and people in the informal sector. Because he also asked questions, he was very, very emphatic about the welders, the people who fry akara in the village, the vulcanizers and the rest of them. So we had to also find a way to accommodate them in the program. For the informal sector, people will have to apply through a website. The website is already available, and I will mention it for us here. And then even when we leave here, we'll try the best we can to publicize it for everybody. Those in the informal sector, forms have been printed, and arrangements have also been made to see how we can take them around the 18 local governments for people to access those forms, fill them, give us the information we want, because we're going to collect a lot of data about everybody that will participate in this program. And the formal business owners will get between 100,000 to 500,000 naira each, while 150,000 naira will be available for those in the informal sector. The program will run in 4 batches. For each of the batches, there will be 150 beneficiaries in the formal business sector and 325 beneficiaries in the informal business sector for each of the batches. The beneficiaries will be evenly distributed across the 18 local government areas in Cross River State. And beneficiaries shall also be picked based on the LGA where the business is located and not LGA of origin. So even if you are from, for instance, and your business in Calabar, it's all going to be based on LGA of origin. As simple as that. Then selected beneficiaries will undergo a compulsory 1-week entrepreneurship training at the EDC, but that has been separated into the 3 senatorial districts so that people don't have to travel from Yala to come to Calabar. So the training will take place in 1 location in each of the 3 senatorial districts. Then the training, okay, I've said that. Then of course the official website is hmindustry.ng. hmindustry.ng. That will be popularized. So if you don't get what I just said, don't worry, you will follow it on the same avenues that we have been reaching you. I also want to finally add that to thank the Minister for giving me the opportunity to participate in this and assure Prosperans that not a dime of this money will be stolen. That is the reason we formed the team. It's a private initiative. And I want to assure everybody that 1 naira will not be stolen from this. A hunter that goes to the forest and comes back with a goat is actually a thief, because goats do not live in the forest. Not 1 naira will be stolen. I'll show you about that. God bless you.
I'm just going to respond to some of the questions. From Lawrence Pama, modalities for implementation. Okay, now let me say this. Since after people got hints of this program, I've received limitless number of messages from across the state. People telling me that they want to be included. My response has been a standard response. I don't have the powers to include you. Wait for the unveiling and follow the instructions that are going to come forth. That's what I've said. In order to avoid any interference whatsoever. Because the more you interfere, the more you put a question mark on the credibility of the program. If I have an ability, and there are some people that are so personal and I'm so concerned about, I can still help and assist them without having to destroy the credibility of this program. The other thing is that as much as possible, I mean, it's we're trying to, yesterday when I had an interaction with the Calabar Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we're trying to also get them to be part of, the structure to deliver this program. That means that at every point in time, we are as concerned as you are about modalities on how to deliver this. But I think that, both Agba and Sylvester will be able to say a little bit more. When you talk about pumping in money, I don't think that's the meaning of a grant. I don't think what a grant means is that at every point you have to keep pumping money. No. I mean, the difference is that this money is either going to be available as a loan, in which case you pay at a certain point, or you have no obligation to pay back, right? So if you don't have an obligation to pay back, my expectation is that it gives you more allowance to try to do the best for yourself and for your business. I mean, if you take a 500,000 and you are very devoted about how to manage it, I don't think you're going to require some other grants, in the next couple of moments. Rather, if more grants come, they should be able to look at those who didn't get the previous grants and not that the same people have to keep getting on and on. Then let me just make, when Agba read out some of the details about the modalities, the way not to confuse all of this is that for the formal sector, you get an amount maximum 500,000. Maximum amount is 500,000. And I think that I imagine that everybody who's going to apply under the formal is going to be striving, to have a budget that is about 500,000. But that doesn't make it automatic. When the committee evaluates this, people who were struggling to add up figures to make 500,000 will be detected. Those who have business proposals that match 500,000 will also be detected. What it means is that we're likely going to have numbers more than what we expect to have, depending on how much each person or each of the formal people get. If everybody who makes an application or whatever submits proposals that meet up with 500,000, why not? We'll get the exact numbers that are expected. And for the informal, the maximum amount is 150,000. If everybody in the informal is able to make a submission and defend a budget of 150,000, why not? But those who are not able to will get lesser amounts and will increase the tally in terms of the numbers that eventually benefit from that category. Chris Jokunam, he has a spirit for perseverance on those who are invested in crossover. I think it's not just spirit for perseverance alone. It's for, as long as you have your business and you're investing in crossover, and we can ascertain that, why not? You are contributing to the economy of crossover. And I think that you don't need to be discriminated against. Priority sectors in the formal, I'm not too sure, but again, maybe we're going to have some more clarifications. But my immediate thinking is that this is going to be driven by the interest of those who apply, and all of that. If it gets to a point in which there's going to be an attempt to understand a certain threshold, to understand a certain aggregation, that tends to speak about some particular sectors, I think that will become, some indication of the particular sector to do some monitoring over. The last question is concerns, efforts of government are not working. Efforts of politicians are not working. Does it bother me? Why not? It does. The fact that people are not able to stand on their own without, grants, without government. I think that the world over, not just Nigeria, there is a trust on development financing. There's a trust on, everywhere government continues to intervene, because, the citizens of a country are not all the same. Their abilities are different. There are people that interventions would work. There are people that interventions would never work. But the responsibility of government and those who are elected and those who are in public office must be to speak to those segments of the population that are going to continuously require support. I mean, Nigeria is going through quite some moments, but there's going through quite some reforms, that are undertaken by the current administration. Yesterday, the University of Calabar, I did a keynote speech on an international conference that was talking about, the withdrawal of fuel subsidy and the fallout and all of that. So therefore, I think that the fact that, one is bothered, that things don't seem to be working, shouldn't make one get discouraged about continuing to make the effort. The fact, for example, that my previous interventions, in the past may not have been as successful as I thought, wouldn't mean that the present intervention shouldn't happen. My hope is that at every opportunity you do an intervention, you try to either scale up or provide some safeguards that try to give a certain number of threshold that will make, that you will count those that it succeeds with. If, for example, everybody was going to benefit 500,000 and then 1,000 people, my expectation and wish would be that those 1,000 people are able to make a success. But you may not be able to get 1,000 people on subsidy. It may be 80%, it may be 70%, it may be 60%. But we'll just keep pushing and hoping that, little by little, we're able to turn a corner and we're able to make quite some progress that speaks to the success of everyone. Thank you.